besides scanning books, right, we're also known for scanning a little bit of the web here and there with our petabytes of web data that we have. But we also scan the web professionally. And by that, I'm talking about our service, Archive It. And yes, Archive It is basically our professional interaction with places that want to have their websites archived. Been at it for about 9 years now, and we kind of own the market. 3 out of 4 American organizations that do this use the Archive It system that we have here. We're kind of the thing. We're kind of the big deal in web archiving, I'm just saying. And so I want you to hear about the next piece of web scanning we're doing with the woman who was there at the beginning 9 years ago with Archive It, Kristine Hanna.
Thank you, Jason. I don't think I've ever been introduced by a fellow in a top hat before. So I'm so excited to be here tonight with all of you celebrating, and welcome to our home in our beautiful building. So tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Archive It. When we first started the Internet Archive, when Brewster founded it in 1996, we used automated crawlers, machines, to capture web content. And as the years went on, we realized what we really needed were people. We needed communities to capture what was truly important on the World Wide Web. Archivists, librarians, curators, subject matter experts, people with deep knowledge and passion and understanding of subjects and topics and domains. So, with a small team and a small group of believers and supporters, we launched Archive It 1.0 in February 2006. And essentially, Archive It allowed anybody to be a web archivist. It was a simple user, it had a simple user interface, it was a web application, and it allowed somebody to create a collection and run a crawl. And we have a couple of examples here of some of our early adopters. University of Texas at Austin created a collection on Latin American government documents. North Carolina State Archives and State Library created collections on their elected officials, the senators and the governors who were creating websites and later being active on social media. Columbia University created a collection on human rights, a very, very universal theme. And our friends at Brigham Young University created a collection on Mormon mommy blogs. And also, I wanted to give a shout out to 2 Archive It partners who are here tonight, who are also early adopters. James Jacobs, Stanford University. Yay. And Jeffrey Harder from University of Alberta. So thank you both for believing in the cause so early. Because early on, we were met with an incredible amount of resistance. There was a lot of skepticism about why should we be web archiving? A lot of organizations didn't believe that it should be part of their larger institutional collecting strategies. And really, I mean, who can blame them, right? Because back then, and still true today, is the quality of web content is all over the map. There's tremendous technical challenges inside institutions, there's policy challenges, there's workflow, best practices issues, selection criteria, metadata, resource allocation. And also back then, who could really have predicted the amount of physical content that is now only available in digital form on the World Wide Web? But we persevered, and I like to think that we persevered together. I like to think that the Archive It community supported the Archive It service, and we in turn supported them. And we learned from each other, and we've really, really grown the service into something that's used by so many organizations, including internationally. We had our first international partner meeting last year, hosted by our colleagues at the University of Innsbruck in Austria. We also have seen art libraries and museums now start to use Archive It. The Frick, the Smithsonian, the Arab American National Museum, they're all prolific web archivists. They're using Archive It. They realized that it was as important to gather and collect this rich media that existed online as it was to preserve their paintings and their artifacts. And the Archive It service had a bit of a milestone on Monday morning at 2 a.m. to be exact, but who's counting? We launched the next generation of Archive It, the first phase of Archive It 5.0. We are so excited about the next generation of Archive It, and I'm so, so proud of the team who worked tirelessly around the clock to make this happen. And I'm so proud of all of the Archive It partners who participated in the development process. And we really hope that as they use 5.0, they'll see themselves in the service. They'll see the features they requested. They'll see the functionality that they suggested. And it will really serve their purposes. And with 5.0, as some of you may not know because you haven't seen the service, we have a shiny new user interface and a really, really robust reporting section, which is going to help our partners even have higher quality web archives. So in closing, I want to end on admittedly a dramatic example of why Web Archive, but I think it's a pretty important one to highlight, is we do a lot of spontaneous collections on events around the world. And this year in February, we started a collection on the events in Ukraine. And we were mainly collecting Western news sites and some political blogs. And then one Saturday morning in early March, and yes, folks, web archivists do get emergency phone calls on the weekends. We got a call from one of our concerned colleagues that websites that were being hosted in Ukraine were at risk, and they asked us if we would preserve them. So of course, our team went right to work on the weekend and captured the sites, and successfully they are now in a web archive here in California in our servers. And we're literally days after that web archive was complete, mass gunmen went into the buildings that were in question in the Ukraine and brought the servers down, and that content was at risk. And so we really... And so some of that content is back up, but that doesn't matter, right? Because what happens next, we know that that content is safe in our archive. So I think that's a really, really good example of web archiving. And I just wanted to end on a, well, there's no slide, so what the slide is, if you can visualize it, it's Rosie the Riveter saying, "We can save our libraries." And I wanted to end with that visual, with a quote, because all of this, the understanding of saving this the at-risk web content is not lost on the younger generation. We have a very robust K-12 web archiving program, and I wanted to read a quote from one of our 15-year-old student archivists from Virginia when he was asked about the value of web archiving. "A long time from now, thousands of years in the future, people will need to research about our generation. And as these people are looking back, without this project, there would be no record of us, and we'd just be dust in the wind." So thank you all for not allowing us to be dust in the wind. Thank you for being our partners, our colleagues, for crawling the web and building libraries together.